Joining me now, Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, thanks for being here. And so these children who we rounded up, put on buses, and sent out into various American cities are not showing up for their scheduled court dates. Surprise, surprise.
Well, we have always said that one of the things that's driving them here is this idea that there's this new law in America that if you come, you're going to get to stay. And people would counter and say, well, there is no such law. But in practice, that's exactly what happens. And people know this. People understand this. And the word gets around. Word of mouth is really what's driving this issue. And it's clearly understood. If you enter the U.S. as a child or as part of a family, you're going to be let free into society if they can reunite you with a family member. And then they know that there's these huge backlogs for these dates in court. And quite frankly, many never intend to show up in these dates in court. So in practice, the fact is that the way this law is put in effect, if you do come to the United States as a minor or as part of a family, you are going to get to stay.
That's exactly what's happening because they're not showing up and we don't have the manpower to go out and round them up, nor if we ever get them into court do we have the resources at the time or enough judges and so on to actually follow through on any posed threat. But in the meantime, there's a big contingent in this country that's pushing to remove that threat altogether, saying that we need to be humane, that's the word, American, another word being bandied about, and let them stay. And there was an article in the New York Times today talking about the push by many religious leaders in this country from various faiths to let them stay. What do you say?
That would be a big mistake. I agree we need to be humane. That's what Americans have always been, and that's why we're so concerned about how children are being treated while they're in our custody. But what would be inhumane is to allow this to continue. And the only way you're going to stop this from continuing is, in fact, if people are returned to their home countries. The word, just like the word is getting out that you should come, the word will get out that things have changed and that people are being sent back, and that would stop the flow.
But we have people come on the show who feel the other way, who say, no. You're talking about returning them to drug dealing, drug cartel-run neighborhoods back in El Salvador and so on. How can the United States turn a child back into an environment like that?
It is clearly a difficult issue in terms of that and because of the humanitarian aspects of it. The problem is what you've just described, it can be found in a number of countries all over the world. And the U.S. can't absorb everyone that comes from a country like that, as difficult as it may be from a humanitarian standpoint. Now, maybe there are other countries in the region that are willing to work with us and accept some of these children. Maybe Mexico will step up and take some children. Maybe Panama and some of these other countries in the region will step up and do their part in terms of doing this. But America can't handle all of this. And I think it's important to remember that every single year, 1 million people immigrate to the United States legally. There's no other country in the world that even comes close to that figure. I think that's a testament to the openness of the American people. But we also are a sovereign country that has to have laws and a process by which those laws are followed.
Meantime, John Boehner over in the House is working on a group that would come up with some sort of proposal to address this situation. And already critics are saying one thing he doesn't look at is the effect of all this on American citizens and how you say that we cannot absorb all these children, 100,000 in just the past 2 years. What is the likelihood? I mean, where are these kids going? Are they being set up for success?
Well, it depends. I mean, some of these children are still in custody because they haven't been able to be reunited with family members. Others are being released to family members, and they now become part of our country. And quite frankly, many of them we'll never hear from or see again until some point in the future. I mean, they'll be in our schools and so forth. So it's real difficult to tell. We're also hearing reports that many of these children are actually coming with their parents, and when they get to the border, their parents go one way, the children are turn themselves into the authorities, and then a family member comes forward, claims the children, and the family's actually being reunited in the U.S. And we've heard that from authorities in some of those countries in Central America. And tomorrow I'll send a letter to Jay Johnson asking very specifically about that.
Senator Marco Rubio, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.